WNDS Sports presents Candlepin Stars and Strikes, featuring the best Candlepin bowlers from all over New England. And now, in our 14th season, your hosts for Candlepin Stars and Strikes, Nick Lutsk and Mike Morin.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV 50. From the Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, I'm Dick Lutsk with Mike Morin as we continue to climb the stepladder, trying to find another winner to participate in our Tournament of Champions at the end of the year to join Gary Carrington, our first series champion. Last week, we saw number 5 seed Steve Vadney advance with a win over 4th-seeded Shaun Baker of Lynn, Massachusetts.
Yeah, Dick, it was a pretty close match most of the way. Shaun Baker maybe not getting all the breaks he would like to have, but the veteran, Steve Vadney, pursued it, and he's in today's broadcast. But if you didn't see last week's show, you'll see a lot of Shaun Baker. He's 21 years old, out of Lynn, Massachusetts. He's got a great future. He's a terrific bowler, and he bowled in a lot of composure, considering the fact he was bowling a man who had been on television over 100 times. And that, of course, today's top seed versus Tom Morgan.
Let's meet today's bowlers. Our 5th seed and winner from last week, 374 to 359 over Shaun Baker, Steve Vadney from Claremont.
And you see his delivery, an average of 121 and a high single of 197, bowls out of the Sunset Lanes in Newport.
And he'll be taking on our 3rd seed, Tom Morgan from Revere, Massachusetts.
Tom's been in the game many, many years as well, about 40 television appearances, averaging 129 with a high single of 192, high triple of 490, bowls out of Peabody, Mass at the Metro Bowl. 35 years bowling against another veteran of 30 years, so nobody's going to be rattling anybody's nerves today because both these guys have been here, done that.
We had a great crowd for last week's match. An enthusiastic crowd is here for this week's match at Leda Lanes in Nashua. It's Steve Vadney and Tom Morgan, and we'll be back with the action in just a moment. Welcome back to Leda Lanes in Nashua. Dick Lutsk with Mike Morin as we get ready for our match between 5th seed Steve Vadney and 3rd seed Tom Morgan. There you see the roll-off totals from the Leda Lanes in Nashua from a couple of weeks back. Joe Ashline, of course, is the number 1 seed waiting in the wings. The winner of today's match takes on Jeff Atkins next week. First to bowl here this afternoon is Steve Vadney, winner last week, 374 to 359 over Shaun Baker. Another great crowd on hand at Leda Lanes. They were very enthusiastic for last week's match.
I think it's safe to say everybody's pretty excited about the return of Candlepin Stars and Strikes and the brand new shows for this fall, leading up to the Tournament of Champions that you alluded to as we opened the program.
There'll be a 9-box for Steve Vadney opening up, and an opportunity for a spare, but he picked the 4 right off the 7.
Tom Morgan, who we'll see in just a second, has had some knee difficulties and was ready to drop out of bowling. We're glad he didn't, because he's been a fixture in Candlepin bowling television shows for many, many years. It's great to have him back.
Another spare opportunity here. This time he converts.
And this will be our first look at Tom Morgan this afternoon.
Averaging 129, high single 192, high triple 490. Right through the head pin. He threw a 663 in the roll-off on October 26th, finishing in 3rd place and thus the 3rd seed. Brought his family with him up from Revere for the match today. And a 10-box for Tom starting out. His wife, Linda, children Jamie and Kelly. He's been working at General Electric in Lynn for 18 years, and he bowls out of the Metro Bowl in Peabody, Massachusetts.
Tell you what, you'd never look at him and know that he was experiencing any knee pain. I guess he needs some cartilage replacement. I believe that's what he was telling me. I guess the secret to his being able to do this painlessly is lots of ibuprofen. Got a big bowling bag full of it, he was telling me.
And a spare for Tom Morgan starting out. So the players match marks in the second box. Steve Vadney fell behind 18 pins after one game to Shaun Baker last week, and then came storming back with a big middle game.
Steve Vadney continues to get very favorable pin action, sidewall action, specifically the 5-pin being knocked over by a pin off the wall, leaving only the 7. Oh. Almost ran out of lane for that one. And we're also on the verge, Dick, of perhaps our first bonus money. 3 marks in a row would be $50.
Steve threw a 143 in the second game last week to turn an 18-pin deficit into a 17-pin advantage, and then he coasted home from there.
He never really locked it up, though, until the 9th and 10th frame. Shaun Baker was mathematically still in it till the very end.
51 through 4 for Steve Vadney. Now Tom Morgan working on a spare. We were talking with Tom before the program about his TV appearances over the years. About 20 times a piece on the Channel 5 show and on the TV 50 show.
I would have guessed it had been more than that, quite frankly. I was surprised it was only 40.
2 marks in a row for Tom Morgan. And he looks for some bonus cash.
I have a feeling we're going to be dishing it out today. These guys look like they're right on target for their spare shots.
A little bit of a dance didn't get it to go.
The pins all piled up, but they piled up where the 7-pin would normally be. 4-pin still stands.
And the bonus money stays in the bank.
It does, earning another 5.5% interest for another few moments. But it's a close match, only 6 pins separating our 2 seasoned bowlers with 65 years combined experience between them in the first match. Hoping to get to that final position to take on Joe Ashline for the ultimate top ladder prize of $1,000.
Contrasting in styles. And a spare for Steve Vadney, his 3rd mark in 5 boxes. He earned $50 in bonus money last week.
Well, on our last ladder, I believe Gary Carrington's total winnings were about $1,900. So you can make a little money at this.
A 70 half for Steve Vadney, looking for the spare, and he has it. 2 marks in a row. And he's working on a potential big game. Now Tom Morgan steps up. Tom's been bowling 35 years.
Almost back to the days of human pin setters.
I remember seeing them down the Cape when I was a kid.
Didn't think you were that old, Dick, but thanks for sharing that with us. What do we do with this one?
I think you hit the top of the wood that's rolling in front right now, or if it stays there, waiting for it to stop. I think that's what you do. You hit the top of that pin and take your chances from there. And that's what well, he didn't hit the top. He slid it.
Left with the bedposts. And a clean 9. Despite the wood in the gutter, didn't touch it. but he's up against another spare frame, so falling a little further behind is Steve Vadney with 4 out of 6 frames marks.
The half Worcester right side.
Tom Morgan, one of the more personable bowlers, as many of them are, but he came in for today's broadcast, and there were so many people that hadn't seen him for a long time. He was busy catching up with old friends and signing autographs.
A 5-box. 71 through 6. So Vadney will lead by 9 plus this ball. A high triple of 488, as you see.
Well, I don't know what his secret is, Dick, but last week and today he's been getting tremendous sidewall action. Perhaps it's that left to right tail on the ball that creates that kind of rotation.
Another opportunity for bonus money goes by the boards for Steve Vadney. Leading by 18 pins at this point.
Well, it's the spread eagle minus the 10 pin. Piece of wood in the middle of the deck. And we might have a piece of wood that needs to be removed. It passes the deadwood line, which is 24 inches from the head pin.
It's going to roll into the channel.
Yeah, we haven't had to send anybody down for deadwood here in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
A 19-pin lead for Tom Morgan. Or for Steve Vadney over Tom Morgan, I should say.
Big split. The 6, 7, and the 9 with no wood. It would be a very lucky cut shot at best.
He gave it a shot.
Had the right idea. Didn't hit anything. Now he'll just go for the 2. These guys are so good and so consistent, it makes it easy to predict generally what they're going to do. They do make liars out of us occasionally, but not too frequently.
Box to box, it's a 19-pin lead for Vadney over Morgan. A chance for Morgan to gain some ground because he's up against an open frame.
Thought we nearly had a revolt here. The gallery is getting ugly about that Rob job.
As you get a look over Tom Morgan's shoulder at some of the big crowd here at Leda Lanes. Just missed it.
It's the second single pin spare opportunity he has missed, which probably would have put him in the lead had he converted both.
And he missed it the same way. The lead remains at 19 for Steve Vadney, with 2 boxes remaining in the first game. No doubt about that one.
That's the first strike of the match. We'll have another look at it. It's what you'd call a hammer or a cruncher. All 10 are down in one motion for the last to go.
5th mark of the game for Vadney. He tries to follow it up, but he punches through.
Yeah, he's been more successful today and last week by not really hitting so directly, but instead going to the side of the head pin. Leaving a cluster on the right, along with a 2-pin and an 8.
131 first game for Steve Vadney.
Going to take at least 2 marks to get close, double strike to actually win this game for Tom Morgan. A couple of marks to keep him within a half a dozen or so.
The crowd here is keeping apprised of the score by Chris Bovner, who works the scoreboard in front of us.
And bowled on the second place team in the World Candlepin Champions up in Halifax, Nova Scotia a couple of weeks ago. He's another one of those young, bright bowlers, as Shaun Baker is, that we'll be seeing on our show, I'm quite sure, Dick.
$199.
Well, a triple strike gives him $129, plus, of course, $575, I believe, our triple strike jackpot is up to this week.
And the bonus ball contest will be at $30. He knew he was going to get one of those eventually. Watch it again. And it comes in the back door.
Wait, I thought I saw him pull a string there from the front of the lanes. It appeared that way.
And a 7 fill and a 116. So a 15-pin lead for Steve Vadney over Tom Morgan. We've played 1 of 3 on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua. Our second game is coming up in just a moment. We have had a terrific response from all over New England for people who want to participate in our Candlepin Stars and Strikes bonus ball contest. And for you to participate, all you have to do is send in your postcard with your name, address, and the number 1 through 10 and send it on to Leda Lanes, 340 Amherst Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. At the end of our match, we will draw a card. And if you are selected and your number matches our bowler's drop for that ball, you'll win our prize, which is currently at $30, but it increases by 10 at every week following every match. So bonus ball, send it in to Leda Lanes in Nashua, and we'll be drawing winners after every match. Here's Tom Morgan to start us off.
You can't start off any better than that. Good sidewall action this time for Tommy Morgan out of Revere. I think a lot of people probably know the name Mike Morgan as well, who is Tom Morgan's brother, and they've been successful doubles partners, and another very visible bowler on the professional television scene for many, many years, both guys.
It's become a cottage industry for many of these guys over the years.
Well, $1,900 for Carrington over the previous 4 shows, or 3 actually that he was in, so that's what, $600 a show. So you're right, you can make a nice part-time living at it and have a nice time.
Tom waiting for the wood to settle down between the 1, the 3, and the 7. On the head pin.
Well, you got to think that the deadwood actually served as a deflector for the 7.
You saw Tom's expression after the shot. He threw it just where he wanted to throw it. You'll watch the ball again. And nothing else you can do about it. Now here's Steve Vadney.
Carries a 15-pin lead into the second match this afternoon on Candlepin Stars and Strikes here on TV 50.
Well, that was not quite textbook, but he'll take it.
They did
a couple
exactly
of dribbles
scatter.
down.
Yeah, watch this. Like an earthquake or something. Just kind of tipped over. Still falling. Finally 6 for the fill on the spare. Giving back 3 pins to Tom Morgan starting out this game.
Steve bowls at Sunset Lanes in Newport. Been bowling 30 years. Been on TV about 75, 80 times over the years. Played it well, but could not quite convert. And a 10 box. Actually, as you look over the numbers, if you count all the other cable shows he's been on TV over 100 times.
Wanted to ask him if the gray hair came from all the bowling matches or if it's a genetic thing. He's a relatively young man, I believe about 45. Has that very distinguished, I call it the presidential look.
Tom Morgan, on the other hand, is 43 years old. And 8 box.
That's the beauty of this game. You really get better as you get older. You maintain some kind of decent physical conditioning, as both these fellas apparently have, despite some knee difficulties for Morgan. Wasn't going to miss that one.
Spare for Tom Morgan in the 4th frame. By the way, I want to congratulate Mike Morin, who's the afternoon drive personality on WZID-FM in Manchester. 95.7 WZID, recently named Station of the Year by the New Hampshire Association of Broadcasters. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a great honor because there's some terrific radio stations in the New Hampshire Association of Broadcasters, and we're happy to carry that honor for this year and try not to let anybody down. Thanks.
WNDS TV won special recognition as a runner-up in Station of the Year honors.
Very close match this game. But Steve Vadney continues the match lead by 4.
Boy, he put that right in the pocket. And the 10-pin didn't move an inch. Oops. Knew it as soon as he threw it.
There it is.
A 10 box and 46 through 4. We're pretty close to dead even as we take the break in our second game at Leda Lanes in Nashua. It's Steve Vadney and Tom Morgan. Don't go away. A lot more bowling coming up on TV 50. Steve Vadney led Tom Morgan 131 to 116 after the first game. After 4 boxes, Morgan's chipping away at that lead. And we're ready to go. He's working on a spare, and he's taken back about 10 of the 15 pins he was trailing in that first game. There's a pin that moved a couple inches and wouldn't go.
Just barely missing the object pin. Might point out, Dick, that runner-up today will take home $175. Move on to next week's match against Jeff Atkins, who was here with us about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but did not win.
With the fill on the spare and comparing box to box, Tom Morgan has taken back 7 pins of the 15 he trailed. And here's a solid strike.
Making his statement.
No doubt about this one.
I'm feeling we're going to see the lead going back and forth quite a few times this afternoon, Dick.
Vadney on that pin. He tries to answer.
Still got that $575 sitting in the triple strike jackpot. If either of our bowlers can do that this afternoon, they've got that money.
Well, Steve Vadney responds with a spare in the 5th box. Right in the pocket. Couldn't get a break. There's plenty of wood sitting out there.
Did not deserve that. A perfect left side pocket hit. 4 and the 10. All the armchair bowlers at home, like us, trying to figure out how is he going to play this one.
Well, let's see. How is he going to play it?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Try the top of the wood in the middle.
Well, I think that's what he was going for, but missed it by about 3 boards.
It's about the only place you could put it there without hitting something, I think. The top of the wood right there, that's the way I would have played it. And he ended up with a 9 box. Now Tom Morgan tries to inch a little closer.
working on a strike.
Tommy, our third seed in the last qualifying round to get here today. Sitting atop the pile is Joe Ashline of Nashua, who stands waiting 2 weeks from today to see who he'll face. And there's still 3 possible bowlers. We don't know.
Tom Morgan with another mark, putting the pressure on Vadney to respond. Steve's right on the head pin with it. Can't quite get it to go. Well, I have made a 1-pin error on the electronic scoreboard, so I'm going to try to figure out this computer and see if I can correct it, but there should be one more pin for Tom Morgan. Yeah, that should be 101 in the 8th frame. And I think I'm just going to let it sit, because if I try to correct this, I could blow up the whole scoreboard. So we'll just let you know that it was a 9 fill on the strike in the 6th frame. And I'm not going to touch it. You folks, just in your own heads, add one more pin to Tom Morgan. I'm bailing you out. I got it on paper here. That's a 6 on the spare. We're dead even.
Well, one of the pins took a couple swings at the 10, but it's still there. How? I don't know.
A 9 box and a 116.
Now I could just give him 10 right here, which is what I'm going to do. So that catches him up. Frame by frame, not completely right, but we know he's got 116.
Right in the pocket. There they go. Watch it again.
Those are the corner pins that haven't been going down for a lot of those kinds of hits, but that one did. A little help from the sidewall.
How is it still standing? That's what Tom Morgan wants to know.
For those of you out there that read lips, would you please write to us and tell us what he just said?
And he'll take a 10 in the spare and a 136 for Tom Morgan.
And has taken the lead by a substantial amount. Steve Vadney only able to muster 2 marks in this game. He needs a good, strong finish before it gets away from him.
He's right in the pocket, but he leaves a split.
The game of fractions. The ball's another inch or 2 either way. You break up the split.
An 8 box and an even 100.
Well, triple strike gives him 130, which pulls it back a little closer. That's a tall order, though.
Yeah, but he's got a makeable spare there, depending on the wood.
And we could go to the third string with a pretty close match.
Well, that one is tough. Disappointing miss, to say the least, for Steve Vadney.
9 box, so 109. And a 2-game total of 240 for Steve Vadney. A 12-pin lead as we head to the third game for Tom Morgan over Steve Vadney on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV 50. Welcome back to Leda Lanes in Nashua as we get ready for our third game between Steve Vadney and Tom Morgan, with Morgan enjoying a 12-pin lead going into the final game. We'd like to hear from you, our new series of Stars and Strikes on WNDS, now in its 5th week, and we'd like to hear your comments and send your letters to WNDS TV 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038.
And as Steve Vadney gets ready to bowl, we'll mention a couple of pieces of correspondence that we've received so far, Dick. One from Alice and Al Goslin in Lynn. They were happy to see Tommy Ulster back on television, and he was our bowler last week along with Gary Carrington. We also would like to thank William Enright from Avon, Mass, sending us a very nice note and making some very astute observations about our broadcast, and we thank you. Anything you'd like to correspond to us with, we'd be happy to have your mail.
And Steve Vadney starts off the third game with a spare to try to get back into it. He's trailing by 12. Watch the spare again. A 136 middle game by Tom Morgan, giving him the advantage. Now on the spare, it's just a 3-pin fill.
A little too full on the head pin, leaving 3 on the right. I'm sorry, 3 on the left and 2 on the right.
And a 7-box, 20 through 2 for Steve Vadney. I want to take a moment here and thank our TV 50 crew for the terrific work they do on our broadcasts week in, week out at Leda Lanes in Nashua. Our director, Vic Cross. Our chief engineer, Paul Hunter. Larry Taylor on audio. Tom Morgan starts off with a bang. Watch it again as you watch the slow motion. Dave McCarthy's at the slow-mo, showing you all of the action right there. Lisa Law working computer graphics. Looking for 2 in a row. Not able to do it. Our camera's manned by Bob Dold, Steve Draus, and Steve Giordoni.
And a 9-box, Tom Morgan.
So he had 6 pins to his lead, leading by 18 pins now in the match. And watch how close he comes.
Been much too long for Steve Vadney. He's got 2 marks and 3 frames to start this game off, trailing only by 12 going into this final game, so it will be down to the wire as they generally are.
There it is again. Now back to live action. Vadney looking for 2 in a row. Missing the head pin.
Having a little difficulty putting 2 good boxes together. Desperately needs this shot.
A makeable shot. Have to take the head pin. Didn't do it.
Trying to get it from the outside as opposed to splitting the 1 and the 2. Brings Tom Morgan back up, wiping his shoes off.
Well, Vadney's had 2 marks in the third game, but he's only been able to fill with a 3 and a 6. That's not really taking advantage
That's
of the
true. That's
opportunity.
only 9 out of a possible 20 fill pins. So that's a very good point. Could have pretty much put him back in the lead. Spread eagle.
You beat me to it. 7-box.
I have to say, making the spread eagle is one of the most exciting things in bowling. I've done it once, and that I said, that's as good as it's going to get for me, and that's as good as it ever got.
Box to box, Vadney's picked up 3 pins. Don't know what he would have done if it hadn't gone over. Through 4, Tom Morgan with the lead. Candlepin Stars and Strikes continues on WNDS TV 50. Heading down the home stretch in our third and final game of this match between Steve Vadney and Tom Morgan. Morgan with a 12-pin lead coming into the third game, working on a strike, but Vadney tries to answer, needing a break. Has some decent wood, but still a very tough shot. Yeah, the wood's not as decent as it was.
Well, if you can hit the left side of the 4-pin, get that wood on the deck to cooperate, you might be able to connect with the other piece of wood and take out the 10.
That's the only option he has to try to make the shot right now.
It always works in theory, but not always in the real world.
Not quite. Talking with Steve before the show about the status of Candlepin bowling up in the Connecticut River Valley area. And he was telling me that over the years, some of the bowlers have defected to 10-pin, but some seem to be coming back to Candlepin now.
And then there are a handful of people that do both, which can really mess you up from league night to league night. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. It can really throw your timing off. A 16-pound ball versus one that's 2 pounds, say 6-7 ounces.
Right through the middle. 2 head on. That'll be a 10 box for Steve Vadney. 64 through 6. Morgan, with a couple of marks here, could virtually put it out of reach.
I'd like to know if there's anybody out there who currently bowls on a 10-pin league, a Candlepin league, and
a duck-pin league?
A duck-pin league.
I suppose in some areas it's possible. You go out of southeastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island area.
Yes. Nice fill on the strike. There's still a ball to go before we record it.
And the wood appears to be favorable from here. Gives him some margin for error, and it does.
Building up an 11-pin lead for this game. And for the match, considerably more.
Looking for bonus money. We haven't given any out in this match.
Got a cluster on the center and the 7-pin in the corner.
He's added 11 pins to his 12-pin advantage, so he leads by 23 in the match with 4 boxes remaining. Steve Vadney needs to mark.
Missing the headpin to the right again, as he has a number of times this afternoon. He was robbed on that one.
Yeah, I thought he put it right where he had to put it. 10 box for Steve Vadney. Unfortunately, 10 boxes won't do it for him. Another good pocket hit.
A little more direct to the head pin, a little less break or tail on that shot.
Deadwood has an advantage for him this time. It's touching the pins. Margin for error again, and a spare.
Well, Tom Morgan can pretty much bury Mr. Vadney here with a couple of marks, as we're getting very late in the match.
Sailed it by the head pin, but gets a good 7-pin drop. Our next Candlepin Stars and Strikes taping will be the 9th of December here at Leda Lanes. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you with us. Great crowd on hand for this match. And a 10 box for Tom Morgan. 85 through 7. Up against a spare in the 8th box.
We'll see Jeff Atkins next week, who we saw in the last ladder series. He'll come back and try it again, taking on today's winner. Joe Ashline sits atop of the ladder, and he'll await the winner of next week's match.
Getting back to our taping on the 9th of December, we start around 10 o'clock in the morning. The crowd starts arriving around 9:30 and getting their choice seats. And it's a fun day.
Well, the last 2 weeks are the largest crowds anybody can remember for all the bowling shows that have been done over the years, and we're very gratified by that and invite you to come out because there is more room for putting out seating on the lane approaches themselves.
Well, Steve Vadney gave it a shot. An 8-pin fill there. Needs to make the spare. Didn't do it.
Well, this is his last hurrah right here.
Definitely needs a mark here, and a strike would be suggested. Threw it past the head pin again. He was on the head pin last week a lot, not as much this week. Yeah, that's a great shot, and he just didn't get it to go. $10 and a 111. Tom Morgan will advance. He'll climb the ladder and meet our second seed Jeff Atkins next week. Trying to finish with a flurry.
Trying to finish for that triple strike $575 pool, I would guess.
Missed the spare. And a 9 box. But it is academic.
Going to the right of the head pin, leaving just 3. But it is, as Dick said, academic. He's got the match in hand.
And he finishes with a 9 box and a 112 to add a pin to the margin. A 13-pin victory for Tom Morgan over Steve Vadney. It'll be Morgan advancing to next week's match against Jeff Atkins. We will be back to meet the bowlers and play our bonus ball contest right after this. For the second week in a row, it was a come-from-behind victory for our winner as Tom Morgan came back after falling behind in the first string to Steve Vadney, but Morgan will advance.
He did indeed, and I'm not really sure exactly what the dynamics of the match and how that happened, but it appeared that perhaps Steve was not on the head pin quite as much as he was in the first game and the previous 3 games against Shaun Baker last week when he was getting some of the best sidewall action that I've seen in a long time. That wasn't the case in the last couple of matches, and it was still relatively close due to the fact that it was a 14-pin difference, and Steve wasn't quite on the head pin. I don't know if that's just my analysis, but it was close right down to the end, and Tom Morgan advances to meet Jeff Atkins next week.
Let's bring out our runner-up and a winner of $175, Steve Vadney. Last week, you jumped out. You saw Shaun Baker jump out to the big lead over you in the first string, and you came from behind. It worked in reverse this time around.
Yeah, I thought I had it going in the first game there, and then second game I got off the head pin a little bit, and then when I did have a single pins, I think there was 2 of them in the second game that we missed. Those were big pins. And then in the third game, I think I was just back on a little heavy and got the split, so.
Well, the $175 is yours. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations, and we'll look forward to seeing you again down the road. Thanks very much. Steve Vadney, our runner-up here this afternoon. And now let's bring out our winner. And Tom Morgan will throw a ball in the bonus ball contest. We'll see if we can find a match and a winner. If they can match the number of pins. A 7-pin drop. And Mike Morin will reach into our handy-dandy basket and pull out a postcard and see if we can find a match and a winner. $30 is our prize this week in our WNDS TV 50 Leda Lanes bonus ball contest. And it's Eleanor Maroney of Salisbury, Massachusetts. Eleanor picked 6, and it was 7. Eleanor, no match. Thank you for participating, and better luck next time. And I'll pin that to Michael and let Michael hold on to that card. And we'll talk with Tom Morgan. We talked to Steve about the lead. He jumped out to the lead in the first game, and you came from behind. What's it like looking from the backside and having to come from behind like that?
Well, the first game, I missed a couple 9 drops, and Steve was going good. The second game, there was just a little reversal. Steve missed a couple 9 drops. I was going pretty good. In the third game, we were both terrible. It was just who could hang on gamely, and it was me, thank God.
Well, Tom Morgan advances. He will be facing Jeff Atkins next week in our step ladder continuing on WNDS Stars and Strikes. Tom, congratulations. We look forward to seeing you next week. That's Tom Morgan, and next week it sets up the semifinals of this match between Tom Morgan and Jeff Atkins here at Leda Lanes.
And the week after that, Joe Ashline, a very popular bowler here at Leda Lanes, his home center, waiting to see who he'll be facing. I wouldn't want to face either one, but that's why they get the big bucks.
So we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same station, WNDS TV 50 at noon on Sunday for Candlepin Stars and Strikes. For Mike Morin, I'm Dick Lutsk. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.